So last year, that was last year's, right? So we had those egg rituals, which one of the reasons why the eggs were so damn expensive. And then she's doing this promotion all over, Apple and the internet. And then we have the Super Bowl performance where she reveals that she's pregnant. So the whole ritual was a pregnancy ritual. It was a ritual to an ancient god, dude. Like an ancient god. Her name was I'm gonna call this Ishtar.
Ugh.
And she's a god of fertility. So they were doing a ritual for her fertility. Las distracciones y narrativas reinan este mundo tecnológico. Todos tienen una opinión de lo que es la verdad y lo que es mentira. ¿Quién controla el mundo? Los aliens son real. ¿Vivimos en un Matrix? Estas preguntas serán debatidas con José y Daniel G, explorando y descubriendo las verdades de nuestro mundo, nuestras creencias y nuestro reality. Welcome to Cultura Truth Project. Oh, yeah. Estamos de vuelta. Welcome back, mi gente. Cultura Truth Project. José González, Daniel González conmigo. Estamos de vuelta, bro. What's up? How you doing?
Bro, it's another week. It's a fun episode today. No guest today. No guest. No tenemos alguien con quien hablar, pero it's fun because we get to do our first recap show.
Sí. Hoy, esta semana, we don't have any special guests this week because we wanted to dedicate this episode to, tú sabes, I have to review y recap los entrevistados que hicimos los últimos 4 episodios. Y también encima de eso vamos a hablar de lo que pasó en los Grammys, vamos a hablar de lo que va a suceder este fin de semana con el Super Bowl y con el halftime performance y all the Illuminati collections, bro.
Bro, it's crazy that the last several guests brought us to this point to talk about some of this stuff, because now we have a little bit better understanding of the alchemy side of things. Tenemos un entendimiento más de los secret societies, the human trafficking aspect, and like all these like new little windows so we can break this down and see where it all falls with the topics we've already covered y seguir aprendiendo, porque muchos de estas tópicas que estamos hablando, muchos de estos temas van súper oscuro.
Yeah, and they're deep too.
Bro, deep is just, it's not even the right word. It's like, bro, like deep, bro, it's like deeper than Maya Khalifa back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's bad.
Oh, okay. Wow. We're starting off on the other side of the field. Pero mira, mi gente, before we get into this conversation, into everything that we've talked about in the last 4 weeks, asegúrate de seguirnos en todas las redes sociales, en YouTube, en Rumble, Cultura Truth Project. Asegúrate de darle like. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you never miss whenever we drop brand new content. También asegúrate de seguirnos. Follow us on González Media TV. Right now, we're recording the podcast. This is going to premiere on YouTube on Friday night at 8 p.m. But ahora mismo estoy vivo en Instagram. So make sure you follow us on González Media TV and our corresponding handles. Y también subscribe to the podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and leave us a 5-star review. Bueno, Danny, como tú lo dijiste, bro, empezamos a hablar de, en el primer episodio, we went in the deep end very, very, very quickly. Y ¿sabes? Hablamos de un tema que es un tema como que like nobody really talks about, but yet it's still very prevalent, que es el tema de alchemy, right? Alquimia and occult magic, and we touched a little bit about the homunculus. What did you learn about that when we interviewed Juan?
Dude, I don't know what I learned. I'll tell you this, I learned more about nothing, if I'm honest with you. Like, La cosa con el homúnculo, or el homunculo, coco, whatever the hell you call that thing, el homúnculo.
El homúnculo.
El homúnculo. Lo que aprendí fue que, por lo menos from my understanding, ¿verdad? Es que muchas de las cosas que estos científicos y alquímicos del tiempo de antes no entendían mucho de lo que es la ciencia de hoy. Pues claro, ¿verdad? Muchas cosas que ellos vieron, por ejemplo, cubrimos un poquito de lo que era the spontaneous regeneration and how to make a homunculus.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of that stuff has been debunked with modern science. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, you know, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, they were trying things. They were pioneering a lot of modern science back in the day, probably not really knowing what they were doing, for all we know, right? Maybe there were little men really created to be used for magical aspects, but like also like you have to think about it in this, like, we live in this dimensional reality. I'm not saying that other realities don't exist, but we have to kind of look at it from this plane. It was like, okay, does magic exist? Yes and no, but at the same time it's like, okay, but if they didn't do those experiments, would there be test tube babies? Probably not. If they didn't do those experiments, would we be even having this conversation? Probably not. But it's very interesting because even when you put on the goggles of the scientists of the time, right, and the people committing these experiments, let it be for occult magic or not, they were doing things to see what stuck onto the wall, and a lot of good things came from it, but a lot of like really weird stuff came from it too. And las cosas raras son las que yo me digo como que, like, did they know that they were like creating a vessel for the devil? Like,
pero es que eso les ha sido la historia de, of time when it comes to like, not just alchemy, but like in the medical field, right? Like when you look at ancient times and ancient civilizations, like the way they would experiment on human bodies y los procedimientos que le hacían en ese tiempo para descubrir o enfermedades o maneras de tratar la enfermedad. Pero it all goes back to alchemy, ¿verdad? Porque at that time ellos no entendían la ciencia, ellos no entendían la anatomía. So ellos literalmente estaban cogiendo diferentes aspectos de elementos, ya sea aire o fuego o tierra, e implementándolo en su research en cuestiones de anatomía o médica. So it all ties in, and again, es como tú dices, there's been a lot of scientific research to debunk this stuff, pero a la misma vez, I always want to think in an allegorical sense, porque, yeah, from a literal standpoint, yeah, it's being debunked. Pero what about, for example, like WWE wrestlers or football players or celebrities or performers? Like, in a way, they're kind of like homunculus. What we'll do, that's what I look at them, because they're kind of like created in a persona by the studio, and this is the persona they have to portray, but they're not themselves. So it's almost like another form of homunculi. It's a very interesting topic.
I agree with you there, right? Like, we both know the wrestling world pretty well, right? We know what it takes, it's trial and error. Like, I think if you're going to call a modern day alchemist, would be Vince McMahon, that guy. That guy's the modern day. You might call him the devil. Who knows? Depends on what era you like to follow. But, let's look at, for example, The Rock, right? Like, everybody knows his story. Everybody knows what he's gone through in the wrestling industry into the entertainment industry. Pero uno piensa, sabiendo, at least for what he's told, right? I don't know what's true, what's not true. I could tell you what's on video and what's not on video and how true that is. And it's the wrestling world, and especially back in the 80s and 90s, God only knew what's real and what wasn't real when it comes to the wrestling world. But that his grandfather was High Chief Peter Maivia. But like every other aspect of his persona on TV Was that The Rock saying, well, this is what's going to get the crowd over? Or was that Vince McMahon playing Puppet Master, saying, hey, let's, beat him up with some, dog penises and see if if some sort of magic comes out from it. I don't know. I don't know, but I think the idea of the homunculus, of creating this magical being to influence culture or influence, mankind, is a very interesting idea because, I think the biggest example of this is Amazon. Amazon is the biggest homunculi ever created, if you think about it, right? Amazon was a bookstore in the 90s, late 90s. It was a bookstore. It was an online bookstore. You cannot operate a website. You cannot operate commerce. You cannot operate anything without using Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon is the structure of everything that is on the internet right now. They're the biggest internet, infrastructure company in the world, period. Right? They're the guys who hold the cloud. They hold all the storage. They do everything. They went from being a bookstore. And I wonder what types of sacrifices did Jeff Bezos make? Because I went to school for IT. I went to school for all this. And when you're learning the history of it, you're like, oh, Amazon Web Services, it's what's behind everything. Everything. You want to run a website, you want to run a blog site, you're paying to God Bezos. I guarantee it to you. You think he's made that much money by selling books and goods? No, he's making that much money off infrastructure and the supply chain. He's not making that much money.
When I learned about that, when I found out that I think it was like 90% of all internet service and structure is all controlled by Amazon Web Services, I'm like, holy shit, bro. Like, eso está cabrón. Pero a la misma vez es genius. Porque es que...
Dude, he's a business. He's the modern day Rockefeller, right? It's like Rockefeller was an oil tycoon in the 1800s, right? But he realized it wasn't the product. It was the infrastructure. So he learned that you can't rely on the railroad system. You have to build the pipelines, right? Same thing with Carnegie. He was like, well, what if I build the metal on the railroad system? Now I'm the billionaire that everybody wants me to be. Well, in today's world, there's a trillionaire because of inflation. But he learned those things, and you wonder, were these people just crazy pioneers thinking outside of the box, trying to, like a good drug dealer, trying to control not only the product, but the manner in which you get the product? But were they just divinely influenced even in a negative way, right? Because just like there's forces for good, there's also forces for evil. And the forces for evil just happen to work just a little bit faster than the ones for good. Because the ones for good, it's not about getting, your prizes here on this earth is in the next kingdom. But the forces here on this earth, yeah, we'll give you the riches of the world. But are these people happy? I don't know. But at the same time, you're like, dude, these guys are innovators and we all want to be like them. We all want to have that wealth. But you got to think, I always think about it, it's like, but what price did they pay to get that wealth?
Yeah.
And is it worth it?
And that's the thing too, right? Because that perfectly segues into our interview with Paranoid American when we were talking about secret societies and the different groups of people that control, commerce, finance, entertainment, the people, they, that's why I always say they. Pero
Trump says the elite. The elite. The elite.
Pero what's interesting, de este tema es que cuando estamos mirando, por ejemplo, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, right? These are like the new technological Rockefellers, the new technological, JP Morgans, that's the industry that we're moving into. And I know I'm jumping a little bit ahead of time here, but when we talked last week with Christy about astrology and how we're entering into that age of Aquarius is synonymous with technology, bro. And we're in the midst right now of a technological shift, like in the monetary system, on every aspect of your life. Y estos tipos saben lo que están haciendo, al igual que los Rockefellers 100 años atrás, ellos sabían, pues yo voy a comprar el steel para construir los railroads. Yo voy a comprar los shovels para que los trabajadores tengan herramientas. That's how they think. That's how Jeff Bezos thinks. That's how Elon Musk thinks. And
if you don't believe what you're saying, just you don't do a quick Google search and look up Elon Musk Bolivia. And a few years ago, he basically overthrew the government of Bolivia just so he can take control of the cobalt mines in Bolivia. You know what I'm saying? Like people like look, I'm a fan of Jeff Bezos, about 80% of him, right? But that dark side of him, that the businessman side of him, you have to think about it. It's like this dude is just as evil as any other major tycoon, because of the things that he's doing that nobody really talks about, right? And the best way I can think about it is like Bolivia is a great example. And you could do a quick Google search. Jose, you can do it right now. There's articles about this.
Oh, I believe you.
He overthrew the government of Bolivia just so he can take control and own the cobalt mines in Bolivia so he can make the Tesla battery.
Dude. And that also kind of goes into like a lot of the crazy shit these billionaires and these secret societies believe in, right? Like, and it kind of goes all the way back to the Knights Templar and, you know, Bavarian Illuminati. But like one thing I wanted to show you, bro, and Elon Musk has been on the public about this, and I'm not sure, I don't know if we want to call it Satan worshiping or anything like that, but a few Halloweens ago, this dude fucking wore this outfit with the Baphomet goat all over his chest and the upside down cross, bro.
You showed me this a couple Christmases ago.
Yeah, dude. And he does this type of stuff on the regular, bro. On the regular. Hold on, there it is. Look at that, bro.
I mean, look, it is a fire outfit though.
I mean, for cosplay reasons, yeah, it looks right. Badass, bro. Pero
something out of Demon Slayer. It's dope.
Pero si tú estás mirando eso, cabrón, y tú estás y you're scrolling on TikTok, y adiós, carajo, y la mosca aquí está de satánico. Míralo. I mean, tiene el Baphomet ahí, tiene el upside down cross. No, y cabrón, it goes even further than that, bro. So remember when we were talking to Juan and he was talking about this author, un autor argentino, Juan Luis Borges, creo que se llamaba, something like that. Y él estaba diciendo algo de que el autor decía que la ficción es más real que la realidad.
Sí.
Right? And that brings me into one of the series that I recommended you guys to watch, que es 30 Monedas. And there's one character in season 2 that's loosely based on Jeff Bezos. Loosely. And I say loosely because he's a technological tycoon, el es calvo, you know, and it goes into the color blue, and we'll talk about that in another episode, la conspiración around the color blue and all that stuff. But the thing is that during that, he got approached by the Vatican because he was pursuing this book that allows him to fucking teleport between dimensions. And the Vatican wanted to possess that book so they can hide it from, you know, from the wrong hands. So the Pope went to this guy, and this guy was like, nope, I'm not going to give it to you. The devil himself went to this guy. He's like, I'll give you everything you want. And this billionaire looked at him, laughed at Satan's face, and he's like, you can't give me anything that I want. I have way more than you can ever give me through this book. So wow. This guy's studying alchemy and deep occult magic at a deep, deep, deep level. Bro, it gets insane. At the end of the episode, this guy fucking travels interdimensionally. I don't want to give it away and spoil it because it's unbelievable how it happens.
I'm on episode 4 of this, by the way, and it's one of those shows. Because I haven't gotten this
digest it one at a time, bro.
Bro, like I watch an episode, it takes me a week to watch the next one. It's that bad. Like I'm like, it's worse than Rick and Morty. And then the hard part is that I speak Spanish. And the fact that it's in Spanish, it's even harder.
Yeah, porque el acento español, gilipollas.
Yeah. And I'm sorry for the coughing, y'all. Still getting over some of this nasal congestion here in Texas.
It's all good, bro. So yeah, man. So, you know, when I see in a fictional story like that, and when I heard what Juan Ayala from Juan and Juan podcast was talking about, that la ficción es más real que la realidad, pues entonces cuando estamos viendo estos cuentos, pues entonces ellos tienen que tener algún tipo de conocimiento de esta gente de whoever they may be que tienen el acceso a este tipo de conocimiento y de magia.
Yeah. Which reminds me, on this topic, like I said, like all these 4 episodes that we've done so far, they're all like weirdly interconnected, because why would the powers that be, and I'm referring now to the US government, right? Why would they want to do hearts and minds to aid these people, right? Like biometric status, so important. Like if you're even a novice or just a simple, AI guy or tech guy, even if you just do, video editing on the side, how important biometrics data is, your fingerprints, your eye scan, just facial features. Like, how important that is. Why is the U.S. government collecting these things? Why? To keep track of terrorists? Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? And then I think about how these tech giants are monetizing information, right? Like the Zuckerbergs. And it's like, what are they creating that is going to lose control? Right. And it's weird how it all ties in, like, and I don't mean to be like grasping at straws here, but it's like when you say all these things and you mention these big names and their big time government contracts that they do have, right? If you don't think Tesla doesn't have a government contract, you're sorely mistaken. There's a reason that he's allowed to do the things that he's allowed to do. Same thing with Bezos, same thing with Zuckerberg and all these guys. The reason they're allowed to have this much influence on pop culture and on government policy is because they have that much influence, and they are utilizing government programs to gather the information to make these technologies. So you think about, okay, the U.S. government has a known program that is not new, that has been used not only during this administration's, wartime policy, but past administration wartime policies. And that's hearts and minds and convincing people in foreign countries like, hey, America's the good guy, but wow, we're convincing you and we're helping you. Let's take some of this biometrics data and being used. And I think about it. Then I think about what China does to their populace. And I'm like, it's only a ticking time bomb before that happens here. And guess who's not going to stop it? It's not going to be Bezos. It's not going to be Elon. It's not going to be Zuckerberg. If anything, they're going to be the oligarchs to promote this product, right? You think about, what is it called? Neuro One, or that implant that Elon's been working on for almost a decade now. Why is he being so forward about putting an implant in somebody's brain? And then if you're a true conspiracy theorist or even a Christian, you're like, oh my God, that's the mark of the beast. I don't know if that's the mark of the beast, but your mind goes there. Your mind goes, okay, so they're gathering all this information so we can implement this? Because whether you believe in the crypto space or not, si la criptomoneda es la cosa that you invest in or no, it's almost like prophetic, right? Like you read certain books of religion and they talk about times like this, and you're like, are we living in those times? Are we spiritually mature enough to handle what's happening? Are we back to the Sodom and Gomorrah days where like not only the sin and all this was happening, but it's like the power, the influence, the cult of magic play, the alchemy, the secret keeping, the populace being, bringing down and all this. It's ridiculous, dude. And all of these things that we've covered in the last 4 episodes kind of shed a little light into different aspects of that.
Oh yeah, man. Especially like when we dove in and we were talking about human trafficking con Rico, and that was
probably the scariest episode.
It was definitely a scary episode. It was very eye opening, especially as the stories that he would say. And I just edited before we started recording here. I edited a few shorts, so those are going to be dropping on our social media here about some of the stories that he said. But dude, it's like, that saying, like, some ignorance is bliss. I totally understand that now, right? Because I wanted to know the truth no matter what the cost, right? But now that I'm starting to find out these truths, is like, shit, man. It's like, did I really want to know that? Because when he's telling me about una mamá que quiere vender que está prostituyendo a su hija, bro. Estaba vendiendo a su hija y la respuesta es porque me tengo que hacer dinero. I have to live somehow. O sea, esa es la respuesta que ella le da a la corte. And to me, it boggles my mind on how people are so desperate that they go to that. And it's a serious problem that people don't talk about.
Dude, it's I mean, shout out to Rico, man. He just did the Ian Big podcast, which is doing phenomenal on all socials right now. And he talked about the same thing he talked about on our podcast. And he went even deeper, right? And the fact that you think about, that's one example. But like I think the far more scary story was the Children of War, his first experience with human trafficking, where he encountered an assassin that was maybe 10 years old and was stone cold killer. And he was brainwashed to believe that he was truly at a war against America. And I wonder, like, programming is a real thing, right? We talk about it all the time off the air. It's like, what type of programming are we programming today's youth? Because I think about it, like, for me, for example, I'm 33 and I know that my brain has been programmed in a way to think certain things about certain subjects. Example, like, I'm so comfortable with my sexuality, not because I'm gay or anything. It's like, oh, I see somebody, wearing a thong, and I'm like, oh, that's normal, right? But like 2 generations ago, oh my God, what a hussy, right? Like it's like that little programming in my head is so normal. And you think about the extremes of that and what happens overseas and what happens with these children that are being trafficked, that they're programmed to think that this is normal. And we're so disassociated from that reality that it's just, you're like, it's happening right under our nose. Like, pull this up. Kidnapping in Duncanville, Texas, 2024. This happened. A girl was trafficked from the city that I live in. And she was found on the border of Mexico and Texas 7 days later. And she doesn't remember how she got there.
7 days later?
Yeah.
15-year-old?
Yeah, little Mexican white girl.
Dude, that's crazy.
No, you've been to the house. You know that taco shop down the street? That's the one she got kidnapped at.
Dude,
and it's happening like under our nose, and it's like being allowed, and it's like it's almost being propagated by the government into an extent, right? Like Al Sharpton the other day went on, I think it was on some talk show, and you can look it up. He was like, there's an invasion coming in from the southern border, and it's being allowed by the Biden administration. 8,000 people just being allowed to walk into this country, and God only knows. I'm assuming a good portion of those people really do want some sort of financial freedom and freedom from oppression in their countries, but inside of that group of people, how many people are being sexually trafficked? They're drug mules and all these things, and then they're just being processed and sent out into the country. And people like Rico end up working those cases, and he finds out it's like, oh no, she was being raped the entire time. Like it's ridiculous, and it's like, oh, it's just another day in America.
That should not happen. And the thing is, bro, that we know about this kind of stuff now, and it's been brought out to the public light. Pero esto se lleva haciendo por cientos y miles de años, bro. Miles y miles de años.
Yeah. Does it make it right? No.
No, it doesn't. Pero es como, it's like, being a sex worker, that's the oldest profession, one of the oldest professions in the world. Well,
that and a fisherman.
Yeah, exactly. Bueno, talk about fishermen, bro. We talked to Christy last week, and she dove into astrology, and she dove into all the different signs and talked about Aquarius and Pisces and all that stuff. Pero, man, I really just was blown away on how she was able to take all the allegory and make it funny, right? Because like the way how she described love, right? you're sent here to earth to love. We're talking about Jesus, and Jesus came down knowing that he was going to be crucified, and yet he loved everyone unconditionally. So that's what we're supposed to do. Even though you might be going through a shitty day, you're supposed to love your neighbor unconditionally. And that's the cosmic joke. Like, that's the joke. It's like your life it can be going in shambles, but remember, you need to love unconditionally.
And that takes so much energy. The energy it takes to like especially like in the first world, right? Like when you think about people like you and I and millions of others that experience an American way of life. Everything from being screwed by the government, going through a divorce, losing a kid, cancer, all these things, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, the commandment is to love. You're like, but why? that's what
wanna.
Like,
I don't wanna.
But God, but why? But like, no, this person did that to me. He was like, yeah, but they did this to me. And you're like, but why? Pero ¿por qué? Papi, por favor, listen. Es que me duele. Es que me duele. And it's so crazy the way she put it. And I love her perspective on it. Because she used me as an example. It's like, Danny, you're supposed to go through heartbreaks. You can teach others to walk away from it. I was like, I feel personally attacked. I feel so personally like, Christy, you're not my friend anymore. I thought we were cool. Not anymore.
My God. No, dude, I just want to say, man, that, these last 4 guests that we had, I'm incredibly grateful to all 4 of them for coming onto the show, a brand new show that's, growing y creciendo cada vez más que hacemos un episodio. So, háganme un favor, denle like al video, vayan y sigan a Juan Podcast, sigan a Paranoid American, sigan a Rico Podcast y sigan a Trust Your Glitter Podcast, porque esas son las personas que nos apoyaron. So, vayan y apoyarlos a ellos. Go subscribe to their channels on YouTube. Go subscribe and review their podcast on all the major platforms. And while you're doing that, make sure you follow us on YouTube, Rumble, Gonzalez Media, on Facebook, on Instagram, and subscribe to all of us on all of our platforms.
And if you can't watch on YouTube, don't forget we also have an audio-only version of the podcast. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple, it's on Spreaker, it's on any and every major podcast platform. Look us up at Cultura Truth Project. Hit us a subscribe. 5 stars.
5 stars.
And just, hook us up, man. Hook us up. Because at the end of the day, we want to be there for you guys, even when you're working out or driving. So.
Eso es así.
Jose, you got some crazy topics we're going to dive into right now. Thank you.
Bro,
that was an awesome review.
So, primero que todo, esta semana es una semana cabrona. So on Sunday, we had the Grammys. Yeah. And then this Sunday, we have the Super Bowl. So, bro, it's a Super Bowl Grammy Satanic ritual week, bro.
Oh, and there was a celebrity death, which I found out.
Oh, there was. That's a ritual, bro. And that happened that same Sunday. Bro, we're going to get into this. So check out there. Okay, so this past Sunday was the Grammys, and I want to give a huge shout out to the Donut Factory. He put this incredible video together. I'm not going to show the video, but I'm going to show some clips of the video because he makes some interesting points. Y básicamente lo que le está haciendo, le está señalando el simbolismo que está ocurriendo dentro de los Grammys, y lo mismo él lo ha hecho con el Super Bowl. So, Donut es una persona que he's a documentarian and he's been doing this for a long time, pero de la forma that he breaks this down, it's very, very interesting. So, are you familiar with the Saturn's Cube, Danny?
I know that it was portrayed on Black Mirror for a while, but I don't know much about it.
So Saturn's Cube goes all the way back to ancient Judaism, bro. Like if you ever see like the rabbis, they'll have like the rope tied around their arm and they have like this cube on their forehead. That's the cube of Saturn. And it's a very spiritual thing for in Judaism because it represents kind of like almost like karma, right? Like, so if you do good, you're going to get good. If you do bad, you're going to do bad, right? But this cube apparently is also tied to Kronos, and Kronos is tied to Satan. So check this out, bro. So in this picture right over here, let me bring this over. This is one of the performances in the Grammys.
Who's
And
this?
I don't know who this chick is, but she's in this middle of this hexagon. And the hexagon is Saturn's cube in 3D form, bro. So she starts her performance in the middle of a fucking satanic cube.
Mm.
Check that out. And at the same time, the Grammy started, the flash floods in California happened at the same exact time, bro. The same exact time. Now, last year during the Super Bowl, you remember last year when we had those egg shortages?
Yeah.
Really early in the year when a fucking, dozen of eggs was like almost $12.
Yep.
So that was a ritual. And there was a ritual leading all the way into the Super Bowl, bro. And I'm going to prove
the Beyonce performance?
No, the Rihanna one.
Oh, that's right. She was pregnant.
Yes, she was pregnant, and that was a pregnancy ritual. And
Did she
the
give
reason,
birth to the Antichrist?
well, I don't know. I don't know if she gave the birth to the Antichrist.
It would make sense. Like, it's a joke, obviously, but like, it would make sense that somebody as toxic as Rihanna, who would get into a fight with a man like Chris Brown just to get clout on the internet, would perform a fertility ritual in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, dude. So check this out. So last year, Rihanna, who was the halftime performer for the Super Bowl, this was her promo picture for the Super Bowl. Now, we have a white background. She has a yellow jacket. And she has this funky curly hair going up all over, right over here, right?
Can we say something about our
podcast? Go
ahead. We have the same color scheme.
I know, but I have it for a specific reason. This was a ritual. Our color scheme is because it's warning. But esto, cabrón, chequeate. So are you familiar with the Orphic egg?
Yes, I am.
Look at that.
Oh, that's not creepy.
Look at that, bro.
Creepy whatsoever.
So, but she was the representation of the Orphic egg during the Super Bowl last year. Look at
her hair, bro. The hair representing the snake. The
yes.
yellow is the yolk. The black. Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with the apple, right? Have you like the Apple logo? Have you heard the conspiracy theories behind that too?
Mm-hmm.
It's like
mirror them. If you mirror them and you superimpose them, it looks like an alien.
Dude.
So that was last year's, right? So we had those egg rituals, which one of the reasons why the eggs were so damn expensive. And then she's doing this promotion all over, Apple and the internet. And then we have the Super Bowl performance where she reveals that she's pregnant. So the whole ritual was a pregnancy ritual. It was a ritual to an ancient god, dude. Like an ancient god. Her name was I'm gonna call this Ishtar.
Ugh.
And she's a god of fertility. So they were doing a ritual for her fertility, and that was during the Super Bowl last year. And this is the goddess.
So question. Let me ask you this honestly. Do you think that as the artist, she was aware of this, or you think it was the producers making this kind of placating her into something she didn't know about? Because I always wonder that. I always wonder, it's like, okay, well, she's going through this performance. Obviously, there's producers. It's mass television. And we know that the record companies and these big time corporations don't necessarily let their artists have creative control. Yeah. So I wonder if she was just like, okay, what am I supposed to do? What do you want me to do? I'm here to make money. And she was the benign of evil, where she didn't know, but she's still doing something evil.
Mm-hmm.
Or was she's like, no, I want to make this huge ritual in front of the entire world because I'm giving birth to a baby and it's the convergence of the force and this guy is going to bring some sort of, I don't know. I always wonder that.
Yo no sé, bro. Yo no sé si ellos tienen un conocimiento o si son los productores or their handlers que le están diciendo las cosas que tienen que hacer. Yo creo que ellos tienen que tener algún tipo de conocimiento. They have to know a little bit about it. If not, like, for sure, Beyonce knows about this.
Oh no,
Like,
100%.
but like Beyonce, she was riding a white horse, bro. She dressed up as Oshun. She dressed up as as Oshun. That's a Santeria god or Santeria saint or whatever you want to call him. She dressed up as that entity, dándole praise a él. So these people know what they're doing. So when I see like Doja Cat doing some crazy ass shit on video, or Bad Bunny haciendo un video ahí con Satánico, you know,
Travis Scott in Houston.
Travis Scott. Cuando vamos a estos artistas haciendo eso, para mí, ellos tienen que tener algún tipo de conocimiento para participar en eso, bro.
Yes. But like I said, like there's also like there's people that are just pawns, right? Like, is she a pawn?
También, sí, of course.
Like it doesn't make it any better. I'm not saying this makes the idea of her any better, but por lo menos yo, I mean, from my perspective, right? I've been part of shows where I say yes to something, right? Because the money's good or I need the work, right? And then I show up and it's some lady sticking something up her asshole just to stick something up her asshole. And I'm like, yo, I didn't sign up for this. But you got to be a pro when you show up, right? So what part of it is, you know, I'm just saying, like, I always wonder, like, how much of this is theater, how much of this is the person knowing, and how much of this is the playhouse or the corporation placating on the signals so people like me and you talk shit on the internet.
I don't know, man. I think that's a lot of work just to get some interest in the conspiracy theory space. I think we're like, hey, let's put these little symbols in these videos or in these movies or in these stages so we can appease the conspiracy theory crowd. I don't know if they're doing that like
but it
on purpose. It'd be hilarious if they did, though.
Bro, I mean, there's been less things done in the public eye just to get a rise out of people. Just saying. Milli Vanilli was a band that copyrighted everything. So
that is very true. Very, very true. So, dude, going back to the Grammys from last year. So we saw that Rihanna performance and it was all very symbolic. And that was the Super Bowl, right? But the Grammys, which was a week earlier, right? The Grammys started at 6 p.m. Pacific time. At that same exact time, on the other side of the fucking world, there was a 7.8 magnitude earthquake during the Grammys.
Now, is this coincidence?
I don't think so, dude. Okay, so how is it that 2 years in a row, right as the Grammys are happening, there's these terrible natural disasters happening, bro? They're doing this shit on certain ley lines.
Okay, let's out of curiosity. The year that those the Sri Lankan tsunamis happened, was there any major Hollywood events that same week?
You're talking about the 2004 one?
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's see. That might have been, hold on. But that was the tsunamis were in December and the Grammys. Oh, maybe. Because I think in 2003, wasn't that the Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake nip slip situation?
Yeah.
But that was Super Bowl. I don't know about the Grammys. I don't know. I would have to do research. I don't know. But that would be interesting if it was. Because
now we have something to go on, right? 2 years in a row may be a fluke. I'm just being real. I'm being a skeptic.
No, and you should be. You should be a skeptic. Absolutely.
But if we go back in time, and we start, because we know, even though they're very brazen about it now, that these people in entertainment are using symbolism, even if it is a form of theater, right? But let's say we go back to major events. If Hollywood or some sort of whatever was doing something in that same timeline, let it be 24 hours prior or within 5 hours or something, and something happened, now we're cooking. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like, okay, now we have something to really sink our teeth into. Because 2 years in a row is creepy. Coincidence. But now if we go back 20 years, it's like, hey, same time.
There has to be another connection, dude. But you know what's the even crazier thing about this, bro? And this is a connection that Donut made. So when the Grammys happened, that earthquake happened at the same time, right? but check out the area of damage in Turkey, and you tell me what this looks like. Hold on, let me bring it up. Don't that look like the Eye of Horus? That's the Eye of Horus, bro. That's crazy, right? So there has to be some type of connection entre these big events like the Grammys, the Golden Globes, the Super Bowl that are magically causing, or they're doing spells, or I don't know what it is, dude, but I don't know that. I don't think it's a coincidence.
Well,
and if it is, shit, that's the biggest coincidence, dude.
I don't know. Let's talk about Kat. Let's talk about Kat Williams.
Yo, all right, so Kat, bro. So this guy's been letting the cat
dude is
out of the
some good
bag
shit
everywhere, bro.
He's smoking some good shit.
All right, so recently Kat Williams started top. So, all right, just to kind of give a recap on everyone. So Kat Williams kind of blew the lid on all the comedians and a lot of celebrities in that world in a recent interview with Shay, and he talked about fucking everyone, bro. Kevin Hart. He talked about Ludacris most recently. He started talking about Ludacris, and he said that he has the proof and he has footage that Ludacris did some crazy ass rituals in order to join the Illuminati and get that success, right? So one part of this story is that Ludacris was forced to shave his eyebrow, his sideburns, and his hair in order to get that deal. And he even like admitted it, like on stage. He's like, all I had to do was shave my beard and cut my hair to get this deal. I'm good, right? But apparently there's something a lot more darker going on. Like it even involves like Quincy Jones, bro. Like,
oh no, not Quincy.
Yes, dude. Like it involves so Kat, he's talking about that that Quincy is maybe gay. Like he's never been like out of the closet, but there's always been like some type of insinuations about his sexuality, and that fucking Ludacris, bro, was his boy, like his boy. You know what I'm saying? Like
he was part of the menu, as some might say.
Yeah, dude. And the thing is, so this whole thing started that, Kat, started calling Ludacris out, blah, blah, blah. Ludacris responded with the freestyle, right? And he started telling the Kat Williams that, you ain't shit, stop talking, blah, 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 blah. Kat Williams came back and he had a freestyle of his own, right? And he started calling out that, oh, I don't fuck with Quincy, but you do because you're the girl on his boy, or some shit like that, dude. So Kat Williams, I don't know if he's smoking some shit, if this shit is real or not, but he be putting some wild ass stuff. Oh, and he also did a podcast with Suge Knight, and he's like talking about Ludacris all on there too. So, and the thing is that Ludacris is in the Super Bowl halftime show this year.
Look, man, here's the thing. I want to say I'm a fan of Ludacris. I am.
Me too.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Me too.
Am I mad at him for being in the Fast franchise? No. But I do know this. Kat Williams is a true comics comic. And I will say that without batting an eye. Kat Williams is one of the most talented comedians to ever live. I don't know if, because comedians, it's like you have to look at it from this perspective too, because I am a comic and I do this, right? There are two types of comedians. There are the comedians that want to get on a sitcom, and Joe Rogan talks about this all the time, right? Like there are comedians that want to get big to be famous, and there are comedians that want to be great to be great comedians. Mm-hmm. And like I've always thought that even though Kat Williams has done movies and he's done shows and stuff like that, Kat Williams never stopped being a comic. Kat Williams will go to Jacksonville and talk about Duval for 45 minutes because that's what a comedian does, right? Same with Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle will show up at a comedy club and rant for an hour because that's what comedians do. Kevin Hart, not to say he's not funny, To me, Kevin Hart got into comedy as an end goal to be in Hollywood. Does it take anything away from his talent? No. But man, it does. You don't have to be conspiratorial about this to tell you that to be in Hollywood, you got to do some creepy shit.
Mm-hmm.
You do, right? The casting couch is a thing. Harvey Weinstein was a thing. You know, like, I wouldn't be surprised is even if it was the Illuminati's fake. Let's say the Illuminati's 100% fake, right? It wouldn't be surprising if Ludacris goes to, you know, to do a reading for Fast and they go, hey, you can keep it for this movie, but if you want to be rebooked for the next movie, this shit gotta go. You know what I'm saying? Like, that wouldn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't surprise me. Jose, you've done stuff in show business,
mm-hmm.
right? Like, if you don't fit the archetype that they want, you're just not going to be in.
That's why, like, when Kat Williams was saying that, you know, the comment about shaving his beard and cutting his hair, like, that's not so unusual in Hollywood, you know?
No, it's not.
Like for TV commercials that I've done, I've had to shave my beard, you know, or I've had to let the side of my hair grow to do, you know, to show a bald, you know, that I'm bald. But those are things that, you know, casting directors will want out of an actor, you know? So it's not that surprising. And especially that actually makes a lot of sense with Ludacris, because Ludacris at that time, he was breaking into Hollywood. He had just done Too Fast, Too Furious, and he was breaking into Hollywood. So clean yourself up, land more roles. I don't think personally
50 Cent got most of his tattoos removed so he can do more movies.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I mean, those are the things that business demands, you know, especially so you can land more roles. I don't know if necessarily if he's signed with the Illuminati or if it was an Illuminati ritual. I don't know. Pero,
I mean, it's interesting.
He keeps talking about it, bro. He keeps talking about it.
It's interesting, right? I mean, I think the more interesting one when it comes to this Illuminati discussion is the Kevin Hart thing. The whole wearing a dress. Bad Bunny wore a dress.
The humiliation ritual. That's an actual thing.
You know, I think that he's probably cooking with fire on that one. But the whole Ludacris thing, I personally think he's just hating. Personally, I'm not. You know, Kat Williams, he's a wild dude, man. I'm not. No hate, all love towards Kat. If he ever sees this, bro,
we love Kat. I love Kat.
I love Kat, but like, dude, like, I'm not saying Quincy Jones was gay or not. I don't know. They say P. Diddy's gay. You know. So, I don't know. I'm just saying, like,
dude, at this day and age, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, at this day and age, it's like, okay, is he trans? Like, that's what I'm more worried about at this point. I don't care if he sucked dick, but did you like cut your shit off? You know what I'm saying? That's what I want to know. It's like, I don't trust somebody who cuts their stuff off because like you're mentally unstable, you know. But that might get us taken down. He might need to edit that out. No, but like I think about it, and it's like, okay, Kevin Hart's story is interesting because he's made movies about it. He did an entire Netflix short series on it, and some of it doesn't add up. Like if he's a true comics comic and he was doing this stuff in Philly, and yeah, he did all these things, you know, in the world of comedy or whatever, but he also did a bunch of movies around the same time. And I know a comedian's schedule. You know how hard it is to take time off the stage to film a movie? Jose, it's ridiculously difficult. If you got, okay, let's say you're Joe Rogan. There's a reason Joe Rogan doesn't do movies, right? Joe Rogan's the best example of a comics comic, right? Joe Rogan has done maybe 3 movies in his life. And during those times, he's publicly said he wasn't performing. He said the only time he would perform was at night at the Comedy Store while he was spending all day in the studio filming a sitcom. He was like, yeah, I'd go from the studio to the Comedy Store to do a set to go home and sleep and do it all the next day. So Kevin Hart, being on the road, like he said early in his career that he was very fortunate to be on the road early in his career. Where did you find time to do these movies, bro? Are you an industry plant? Are you? I'm not saying he is or he isn't. I'm just saying, like, are you? I'm not taking anything away from his successes. But what I am saying is, like, there's something suspect about the way he came up. And it's, even though everybody says, oh, Kevin Hart has writers, man, so does Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle has writers too, right? But it's like, But it's like, are they writing his jokes or are they giving him premises and he does the comedian thing and takes it in a different direction, which is very different, right? Like, which is great. Which reminds me of like Kevin Farley. Kevin Farley was also a stand-up on top of being in all these things, but he had writers. Most people don't know that, right? He had writers, and it's like, okay, so what's next? It's like, is he a comic or is he a performer who does comedy? Which I, at this point in my career and in the way I recognize things, I think Kevin Hart is more of a performer who does comedy than a comedian. Than a comedian. So it's like, just like, at least in the world of comedy, you have to be a comedian first. You can't be an actor first and then a comedian.
Very interesting. And I like your take on that because you're in the trenches, bro. You're a comedian. You know, I'm a performer. I mean, I don't perform on stage like that, but I'm on camera all the time. But that's a different art, you know, and honing on that type of skill. So I think what you just said makes a lot of sense. And I think that Kat Williams, maybe, I don't know, bro. And I'm just making a educated guess based on the information that I have. But I think he might be a little bit better of Ludacris' success. And he decided to state himself as a comic.
And that's okay. But like, when you look at Kat Williams' career as just a straight up stand-up comedian, the dude is one of the most successful comedians of all time. To make a living in the world of comedy is almost impossible. And the people that do, they're special. And he is special. And the fact that he's in like, it's a little distasteful to like say, well, he's an industry plant, he's all this, I had these opportunities too, and I declined them. Did he decline them because you wanted to do comedy more than you wanted to act, or because Ludacris was part of the Illuminati? I don't know. I could tell you what he said, and I could tell you what the other guy said, but I couldn't tell you the truth. The truth is somewhere in the middle. And guess what? Cultura Truth. That's what we're all about. We're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. En verdad que sí. Bueno, let's try to figure out what's going to happen this weekend, bro. Super Bowl. We got Super Bowl on Sunday. First, are you team Taylor Swift and Kelsey, or are you 49ers? First of all, I'm probably sick to my stomach and nauseated of the amount of news that I've heard around Taylor Swift and Kelsey and the Chiefs, dude. And
I want to make this publicly known, first and foremost. I think Travis Kelsey downgraded in his female department compared with his Taylor Swift compared to his ex. And if you want to look up his ex, just look up Travis Kelsey ex, and that lady was a baddie, bro. 10 out of 10. Nice caramel skin color, beautiful girl. Taylor Swift is a hard 7 in my book. But I don't know. This has a lot of like weird. It's weird, bro. Like I feel like he's being subjugated in some sort of siren type of personality, because why would she be interested in him and why would he be interested in her when she's obviously in the stratosphere compared to fame, compared to he is. But like now, I hear women say, well, fuck Travis Kelce. He wasn't even a part of my radar until he got with T Swift.
Let me remind you of something, Danny. Let me remind you of something.
Not a psyop. Taylor Swift is not a psyop. Taylor Swift is not a psyop. Taylor Swift is not a psyop.
Swift is not a psyop.
Taylor Swift is not a psyop. Taylor Swift is not a psyop. Taylor Swift is not a psyop. Taylor Swift is not a psyop. Taylor Swift is not a psyop.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Good morning.
Taylor Swift is not a psyop, Danny. It's totally a psyop, bro. Come on. Dude.
She's a psyop.
It has to be. It has to be a
But what's the end goal? What's the end goal? What? So we can murder more kids in Israel? Like, what's going on here?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, she's bringing in a lot of money from, the Swift Army or the Swifties or whatever you want to call them into the NFL, But what baffles me about this, bro, que es que la cantidad de atención que le han dado a esta mujer en ruta al Super Bowl, ¿me entiendes? And she's not even performing at the Super Bowl.
Bro, if she was performing, it would make sense, right?
I,
It would make sense. It would,
yeah,
but she's not.
it just be like one long ass PR stunt, right?
Right?
But like, what really is the end game here? I don't know what the end game is here.
What, some love song that Travis Kelce's gonna be a part
Ooh,
of?
what if it's just inspiration for her next breakup album?
Well, you know what? That means that Travis Kelce would have to get with Meg Thee Stallion next just to one up her. You know what I'm saying?
Yada
Like-
yada 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 yada.
yeah.
Bro, so this year the Usher is going to be performing on the halftime Super Bowl show, and we talked about last year's performer Rihanna. And
Why isn't this ad for the Super Bowl not as cultic as last year?
that's what I'm trying to find the answers to myself, because all we see is kind of like a red light, and the music logo is kind of like broken up like digitally. So I don't see anything like crazy symbolic or occultic on here. Pero if we connect the dots, not just looking en the Super Bowl y en NFL, ¿verdad? Pero si miras afuera lo que está pasando, with the wars, uno, con la economía, número dos. So then this is just me thinking, and you can chime in and you can give me whatever opinion you think about this. But for me, bringing in Usher is a symbolic way of ushering in the new digital currency.
Wow, you're reaching.
I'm reaching, but it's not Ludacris, because Ludacris is in this halftime Super Bowl show as well. It's
Well,
So-
what I like about this year's Super Bowl is the presidential what's at stake, la cosa de elecciones presidentales.
yeah.
They're saying that in the 2020 election, when Trump lost to Biden, Kansas City ended up winning. And it was the same matchup, Kansas City versus San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a repeat of that. And guess what? We're looking at a very potentially, most likely, almost guaranteed rematch of a Trump-Biden election on a leap year, just as in 2020. And they're saying that the only reason this happened was because the NFL broke the script. Because the original script, if you go by the conspiracy theory of the color scheme of the goal of the Super Bowl logo, if you want to pull it up, this year's Super Bowl logo, it was supposed to be the Ravens versus Kansas City, or versus San Francisco. I'm sorry, right? And it was supposed to be San Francisco was supposed to win. But now that Trump is winning, they're saying, or Trump is in the election again, that they're bringing back the same ritual that they did that year, so Trump wouldn't win, because there's a bigger play here, and because this is such the most widely watched television event in the world every year. This is the most widely watched. I don't care if you're not a football fan and you live in India. This is the event everybody watches.
So interesting that the Super Bowl this year is in Las Vegas. It's at Allegiant Stadium. I went to Allegiant Stadium 2 years ago for SummerSlam 2021.
Yeah.
It's a huge ass stadium. It's beautiful. And
It's black.
I've seen a lot of people on the internet call it like I think the Death Star. They call it the Death Star Stadium or something like that.
It looks good. It's dope. It's a dope looking stadium.
It's a pretty cool looking stadium. I'm not gonna lie. It's nice. But here's the thing though. When we're talking about the rituals, the superb owl ritual, the Super Bowl, right? Let's kind of put some things in perspective. One, the exact location of Allegiant Stadium is on the 36th parallel.
What's so important about the 36th parallel, Jose?
So the 36th parallel is a parallel or an area or a ley line that the veil between dimensions is thinnest, and you can manifest or do magic or rituals on these certain landlines, and they manifest into reality. So
interesting.
So, and there's different ley lines for different purposes. I don't know what the 36 parallel purpose is, but here's another thing too, Danny. When we're looking at these rituals and we're looking at the people that do it, remember we were talking about specific numbers that, these groups look for, so some of them, a lot of it is 33, like the 33rd degree Mason, right? Well, look at the address of Allegiant Stadium.
333 Al Davis Way. That's hilarious.
All right.
So, and they had to make that street, so they numbered that on purpose.
Exactly. So
because you've been to the Miami Stadium, Hard Rock Stadium, and all those roads are named after former football players. Al Davis was the original owner of the Raiders.
Mm-hmm. So we have the 3333 connection. We have the 36 parallel connection. And the thing is also is whatever they're doing on this, on that specific time, on that specific date, it's I think it's all tied into what we're going to see later this year with the elections, with the economy, with, I believe, dude, that the Super Bowl is kind of like a roadmap for your year.
I think so too. I mean, I don't know who's going to win. And honestly, it doesn't really matter. But I think that there's so much at stake with what's happening, at least on a spiritual level, right? Mm-hmm. When you look at, the two teams that are repeating themselves, when you look at the past, the Trump-Biden election part 2, it's an interesting thing, especially with the way the world affairs are happening with war in the Ukraine, war in Israel, now there's Palestinian, Pakistan and India are looking at going to war again. There's a lot of things happening in the world right now in the midst of another American election. On top of that, you have an immigration problem and all these things, and you have to think about, okay, so why are they putting such importance on who plays in this year's Super Bowl? Because, man, if you were to tell me week 15 of the of the NFL season, looking at the teams that were in contention, it was going to be Kansas City and the 49ers, I would have been like, you out of your damn mind. But all of a sudden, it's like these two teams. Why these two teams? Why are they both red? Why are they both, repeating 2020? Like, what's happening? Is it another coronavirus? What's happening?
That's the other thing too, bro. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because there's another thing that's kind of circulating all over the internet right now, and that's disease X. And I find it very interesting how the letter X and all the symbolism with X is starting to pop up, and it started popping up mid last year. And it started with Elon Musk when he bought Twitter and changed it to X. Now, and if we think about it, X is the 24th letter in the alphabet. And we are in the Hebrew year of 5824, the actual year 2024. We're ending it with 24. So 24, guess where it connects back to, Danny?
33.
No, 24 connects back to Saturn. And I'll show you why. Hold on.
I didn't smoke enough weed for this.
Hold on. 24 Saturn astrology. Check this out, bro. So you know the symbol in the Olympics?
Yes.
That symbol, that's the 24, and that's for Saturn. Here, let me see. Oh, there it is. Saturn, Jupiter. Actually, this is for Jupiter. Sorry. But let me bring it up so you can see it. So there it is. You see the 2-4, boom, the 2-4, boom, 2-4. And we're in the year 24. X is the 24th letter in the alphabet. There's something with the letter X that these people are paying attention to. So I don't know. And then another thing, you're in Dallas, and last year we had a solar eclipse in Dallas, and there's another one crossing right in the same exact area, and there's a big ass X right over Dallas.
Well, there's also a movie called Civil War coming out, and it's really creepy that all these things are coming out and all the programming behind it. I don't know, man.
It's a lot to digest, but you know what, bro?
I want to cry. I want to cry. But it's creepy. It's creepy. There's a lot. It's the broken compass is real. It's a lot, man. And and if you're like me, where you like to stay current, with some of the, up to date with some current events and y seguir las cosas en el mundo, uno piensa, it's like, is this the Matrix? Like, and we joke around like we live in a Matrix, but it's like the powers that be have more control over the populace now than they did during the times of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we lived in a walled garden, and it's like they're slowly changing the landscape, slowly changing it, and it just as somebody who believes in a higher power, who believes in God and Jesus Christ, you're like, why doesn't it seem like the good guys are winning? That's the part that gets me. It's like, it's like, why are we being pushed to this side? And it's like everything, bro, everything, like back to the human trafficking thing, did you hear about that? And it's kind of happening this week. All of it's happening kind of this week. That bill that's in front of Congress regarding the human trafficking at the border, like talking about over 8,000 unaccompanied people and humans are being allowed to cross the border, being called an invasion before the U.S. government even steps in to stop anything. And if they're minors, they're just going to let them go. It's like, why? Why is it all happening this week in such a big week, right? Like we had a celebrity death in the beginning of the new moon, in the beginning of the week, and Toby Keith, which I didn't know who Toby Keith was until today.
Interesting enough that Toby Keith, I think he died on the 33rd day of the year.
But still, right? Like, still. What I'm talking about is like, I didn't know who he was. And they say he died of cancer. Yeah, whatever, right? Like, but like it happened. And even if it was of natural causes, or the powers that be are definitely taking that as an opportunity between two major public events that, capture the world's attention. And on top of that, in the political side, a lot of things are happening at the same time. And you're just like, what's the end goal?
Honestly,
what are we bringing into, what is the collective manifesting right now? And what are the powers that be trying to put together that they're playing us like puppets?
Honestly, bro, I think what they're trying to do, I think they're trying to harvest our energy, and they know how to do it through these events, either be Super Bowl, either be the Grammys, WrestleMania, wherever there's a big crowd, big event, big stage. I'm looking at those things almost as a ritual. And when I say ritual's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just something that's done, right? Rituals are done in churches. It doesn't mean that it's good or bad. It's just a ritual. It's a thing that they do. And I think it's really to harvest energy, so when they're instilling fear, they're feeding off of your fear. If they're trying to, bring you into ecstasy, like in these music festivals where everybody's high on LSD, on acid and all that shit, they're harvesting that type of energy. So I think it's an energy harvest type of situation. I know it sounds out there, but energy is a real thing, dude. Like before we started recording, you were telling us like, dude, I'm pissed. This person walked into the room and it just fucked up the vibe the entire afternoon. It's a real thing. Energy is a real thing, bro. So I think these people are harvesting energy.
Okay, let's say what you're saying is true, right? Like let's take it for 100% true. Why What's the purpose? What are we powering the new time machine to take us back to the year 1984 so we can,
That is an answer way above my pay grade and way above my my security clearance, and I ain't got a security clearance.
I'm just saying, what? How many thousand gigawatts do we need to travel back to 1984? You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I want to know, because Elon Musk has to be working on something, and if he's allowing these things to be perpetuated on his platforms, and so is Amazon and all these things, it's like, what do you have to benefit from it, right? Because when you look at it on a surface level, these companies have nothing to do with each other, but they all do business with each other, right? It's like, hey, it's like the mob. It's like the mob, right? Like the Italian mob, yeah, they move the heroin, but the triads move the seed, and they don't like each other. Yeah, they go to war on the streets, but at the high level, they all sit down on the same table and fucking share a meal.
It's like BlackRock, dude. BlackRock is the largest asset manager in the entire world. There's not a company that they don't own. They own Disney, they own NBC, they own ABC, they own Facebook, they own Microsoft. Anything that you have in your household around that right now, they probably own it. Just look up BlackRock. And the thing is that BlackRock, there is a very strong symbolism and allegory to it. And there's a reason why they control all the assets in the world. And that's another conversation for another day, because that requires a podcast in its own, because it's a lot of breakdown there.
So, Jose, now that we've broken down the last 4 episodes, we've talked about the Super Bowl, the Grammys, a celebrity death, a bunch of other stuff. What are you looking forward to after this crazy week that we just experienced?
Oh, man. Well, I'm looking forward to not hearing any more about Taylor Swift and the Super Bowl and the NFL. So I'm very looking forward to that. But honestly, bro, I'm just really excited to talk to some of our upcoming guests that we have coming up now in February. Trying to get Donut from the Donut Factory on here. And I get a couple of other really great guests that we can dive into some other crazy ass topics. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, bro. Is just talking to some other people.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I think we have some pretty good guests lined up for the next month, and then we're gonna reconvene in about 5 or 6 episodes again, and then we're gonna break everything down and talk more of this crap. Which, by the way, I actually enjoy this format for us. I enjoy this format. I think this is amazing. I can't wait. I don't have anything else, Jose, other than everything's just the world's going to shit. We're going to watch the Super Bowl, and I'm going to watch it with other people. I'm going to contribute to the energy harvestation because apparently I'm a simp. So,
I hope you guys have an amazing week. If you guys want to participate in the energy harvest this week, let us know in the comments, and let us know how you're celebrating Super Bowl este fin de semana. Asegúrate de seguirnos en las redes sociales, mi gente. Follow us on YouTube and on Rumble at Cultura Truth Project. Smash that notification bell para que nunca se pierdan when we are live or when we drop brand new content. And live shows, we are going to be doing that in the next few months. And we're waiting to get a library of stuff so we can have networks and do roundtable live. So I want to do something really cool for our live shows. So we are going to be doing lives later in the future. Pero también recuerden to subscribe to the podcast on all major platforms, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and please leave us a 5-star review. Smash that like button so that way the algorithm can push this out to everyone so everybody can see this badass show aquí en Cultura Truth Project. Bueno,
don't forget to follow Jose at Jose G Official, and don't forget to follow me at Poppy the Comic. And if you're looking for a comedian, you can go ahead and book me. Shameless plug there. Guys, thank you so much. Muchas gracias, mi gente. Los quiero. Que vaya a Puerto Rico en la serie caribeña. Nos fuimos. Wah, 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 wah.
That's it, bro. Nos fuimos, mi gente. Los quiero. We'll see you guys on the next episode.